until the story played out a little bit more. Well, boy, did it ever. Because Hunter Kelly is a student at Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan, which is about an hour north of Grand Rapids, where we're recording at.
Very close.
And he said that he was used by a couple of right-wing operatives in exchange for, I believe they were going to pay him $1 million. They were going to send him up in this house. They were going to get him a book deal, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's crazy what they were offering this kid. And there's proof of it. They had him download this app that you can send messages privately. I believe it's the Signal app. I know people who use Signal. Those messages are encrypted. The app doesn't keep anything. They can't look at your messages, and it doesn't keep any contact information. So, for example, let's say that you upgrade your phone. You have to re-download the app. When you reload your phone from the cloud or from backup or start fresh, you have to reload the Signal app, and none of your contacts come over from it. This is how much they value privacy, I guess is the way I'm looking at it. But yeah, this kid claims that he was used by conservative lobbyists to create a lie that he was sexually assaulted by Pete Buttigieg. And I've actually got this story here. This is from WPBN Television in Traverse City. This is by Shelley Adamsick. A Ferris State University student is at the center of a controversy over false accusations against a 2020 Democratic presidential primary candidate. 21-year-old Hunter Kelly claimed that he was used by conservative lobbyists to create a lie that he was sexually assaulted by South Bend Mayor and presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg. He told WPBN, quote, "I was used and set up in a big scheme," end of quote. He said it all started when he followed Jacob Wohl, a conservative lobbyist, on Instagram. The Ferris State University student, who identifies as a gay conservative, claims that's when he was coerced by Wohl into going along with a lie that Buttigieg sexually assaulted and raped him. Kelly is saying, quote, "He was the first person to initiate contact. I had followed him previously, and he requested to follow me, and subsequently with the follow request saying, 'Do you want to be part of a political operation?'" End of quote. Kelly said the message ultimately led to him agreeing to let Wohl fly him out to Baltimore, where he said he assumed they would discuss how he can help the Trump administration and the 2020 campaign. When Kelly got to Baltimore, he said he was met by Wohl and Jack Berkman, a fellow conservative lobbyist. Kelly said the pair presented a document for him to sign alleging Buttigieg sexually assaulted him in February at a hotel in Washington, D.C. Kelly says he was forced to sign the document despite having some doubt. He said, quote, "I told them I was not comfortable with that. I messaged Jacob when I went to bed that evening and said, 'Look, I need to talk to you about this, and this isn't right. I can't be a part of this.'" End of quote. He said that by the time he woke up, there were fake Twitter and Facebook accounts made using his name, sharing the assault allegations. He said, quote, "I thought this was a draft. I never agreed to have this posted." End of quote. Kelly said the post had already spread.
He signed.
Quote, "And I looked at the post date. It was April 28th, and I didn't even fly into Baltimore until 12:30 a.m. on April 29th. So they posted it even before I was in their presence." End of quote. Kelly said Berkman and Wohl made him call news outlets for an on-camera interview to read the statement regarding the allegations, but he decided to go home before the interviews. Wohl said Kelly was threatened, and that's why he left. Wohl said in a statement, quote, "His parents called him up and said, 'We're getting threats. Democrats are threatening to kill us. You need to pull back on this and say that you were set up." End of quote. Berkman took to a Facebook page he runs posting a video and said, quote, "I think Hunter is a very fine young man. I don't understand why he's now telling these lies. I think it's because people got to him." End of quote.
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
But now he's getting his checks from the Democratic Party. He didn't get one from the Republican Party for the smear. Mm-hmm. Now, Buttigieg, he is sending money because this was a shot right in his rump. This is exactly what he wants. His forte is going to be the gay card, and now he's being persecuted and maligned. Don't think he's not clapping with joy down in South Bend over this story.
Kelly, a Traverse City native, returned to Michigan and said he planned to take legal action. Ferris State University worked to keep him safe from the backlash. Kelly said, quote, "I'm sorry to him and his husband. It wasn't my intention to do anything falsely accusing someone of anything," end of quote.
Well, the story seems rather simple and shut.
Yeah.
But I still have suspicions. I had suspicions last week. There's still something under here that just doesn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
These guys would do a better job than just flying somebody in while he's sleeping in the hotel room in Washington, setting this whole thing up. I'm not buying it. They may have contacted him to try and smear him, but this guy's rendition is self-serving. This guy knew what was going on.
Yeah, we talked about this after it came up that this kid now says, "Oh no, they lured me down there to spread this lie." And apparently, like I said, he's got messages and proof that they offered him a book deal and all this stuff. So this is what I posted.
He's a student at
Ferris,
Big Rapids?
at Ferris State University. Yes, he is.
Yeah, it just doesn't smell right.
And it was easy to find him. It's super easy to find him. I found him in less than 5 minutes. Then again, I've been trained by investigative journalists like Henry Yerb and Cynthia Kay, but that's another story for another day. So I published this along with a piece that was wrote for Heavy.com. I said, "This is a classic example of why actual journalists dig further into the story before reporting false accusations. In case you missed it, 2 right-wing operatives are being accused of impersonating a Ferris State University student. The 2 allegedly posted a blog to Medium under the student's name that accused presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg of sexual assault. After receiving numerous media inquiries, the student has said that he didn't write the Medium post and that Buttigieg never sexually assaulted him. I almost contacted the student yesterday, but I wanted to wait and see how this was going to play out. It's a good thing I did. The moral to this story is that accuracy should be more important than being the first to report it." Mm-hmm. Let me read that again for those of you in the back. The moral to this story is that accuracy should be more important than being the first to report it. And we've seen that countless times through the decades with electronic news gathering.
It doesn't make any difference to MSNBC. They, day after the announcement by Joe Biden that he was running as a presidential nominee, reported that the polls indicated that he was, 20-some points ahead. A huge surge, a big surge. Their reporting, though, left out one key component, that the poll they used it just didn't poll anybody beneath 50 years of age. So all the old establishment Dems, they got questioned. But the young, energetic new wave of real liberal Democrats, the millennials, et cetera, they didn't get asked. So, of course, the poll is totally and completely misleading. The apology that the MSNBC and CNN should have made it hasn't come out yet, has it? Darren, I haven't seen that. What I do see is the same game plan being used again by the establishment, which is to use the media to make it look as if Bernie has been pushed aside by this establishment Dem, and it's not true. We have looked at polls. I'm not going to get into a poll debate here. We've looked at polls that show, and one of them is Daily Cost poll. Daily Cost has it just in the last 48 hours that Bernie's still ahead by 10. Another poll we looked at, which you mentioned, I don't know its veracity, has him even farther ahead. And the truth is nowhere in between the MSNBC mainstream media and these other sources. You are looking at the assassination of a credible candidate, Bernie Sanders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're seeing it from the pollsters. We're seeing it from the corporate-owned media. Let's just tell you, folks, I'm going to lay it right out here for you. Polls can be manipulated. How? You got to ask yourself, when you see a poll, what was the sample size? Is the sample size large enough? How many men? How many women? What backgrounds? Were they white? Were they Hispanic? Were they people of color? Were these people contacted by landline? Were they contacted by cell phone? Were they contacted by email? What income bracket are they in? Are they similar? Are they different? You really have to do your research. You really have to dig into it. And there's just no two ways about it. Numbers can be manipulated. Sorry, anybody that's taken statistics in college knows that numbers and questions can be manipulated to get the results that you want. That's a period, end of story. It just is. And it's just amazing that people take polls like they're gospel. You need to do your own research. You really do, folks. It's scary. It's super scary.
Here's the poll that you need. Take a look at some of the crowds Bernie is still drawing, thousands of people, and ask yourself. Here's the response I wanted to read. Older respondents were overrepresented and younger voters were underrepresented in the recent CNN SSRS poll gauging support among the 2020 Democratic field of presidential candidates. The poll released April 30th. In that poll, Biden is shown with an impressive 24-point edge over Sanders, with 39% of voters saying they supported him compared to just 15% for the Vermont senator. That is not true. That is a complete canard. However, a good post-analysis of the results found that the poll largely excluded voters under the age of 50 in coming to that conclusion. Also, the poll didn't give respondents the option to offer their approval or disapproval of Sanders, even though the poll did ask respondents to give their approval or disapproval of lesser-known candidates like Seth Moulton, Tim Ryan, Eric Swalwell, and even Miramar, Florida Mayor Wayne Messam. This poll was manipulated, like Darren said. It had an objective. Another objective I want to point out is one I saw posted last week that showed the amount of money donated by gender. So it had Biden supposedly receiving a high number of women donators, and of course Kamala and some of the women getting the same high percentage. But guess who was at the bottom? It was Bernie Sanders. Now, this was done so sophisticatedly, it didn't come out and say, we want to resurrect the sexist attack against Bernie that we used in 2016.
Yeah.
But that's what this poll that pretended to be unbiased, just showing numbers, indicated. Did anybody care to ask who was it given to? Was it maybe for Bernie's people? Did they ask a male gathering someplace of Democrats compared to a Me Too movement of Democrat women? You don't know those parameters. You don't know the background of the poll. But these polls are used for an objective. And mark my word, they are going to try from Bernie's gun legislation to his age to his pie-in-the-sky unicorn so-called policies of free college to his sexism. The Bernie bro tactic. They're not going to put that on a shelf. They're going to come out and they're going to beat you over the head with it. When the truth is, Bernie put how many women into his new cabinet, into his group of handlers? 20 women. His personal advisor is the infamous progressive Nina Turner. So you have all kinds of evidence of where Bernie really is. Don't listen to the CNN and these manipulative mother-you-know-whatters try and sway your opinion. Your point at
that's the Grit Post article. That's from Carl Gibson, April 30th.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I want to read this because there's a little addendum. They changed the headline of this article. Let me read this here. Editor's note from April 30th, 2019, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This headline has been changed from CNN and MSNBC caught manipulating poll numbers to give Joe Biden artificial edge to recent polls showing Biden in lead confuses and distorts support for Bernie Sanders to more accurately reflect the CNN poll results and the information reported on by MSNBC. The CNN poll does not include data for specific demographics for Sanders, while the MSNBC graphic did not accurately reflect data from a separate poll. There is no evidence that suggests these were coordinated misinterpretations on the part of either network. We apologize to our readers for the confusion. But you know what? We have
it just said clearly.
We have Ed Schultz from an interview that he did with a podcaster a few months before he died, where he said that the head of MSNBC